Thank you for being here tonight. I think this is such an amazing opportunity. I'm really grateful for the team that helped to put tonight together. So, Rhonda, I know you. Oh, I'm supposed to use the microphone. Thank you. It's not supposed to magnify for you guys. It's supposed to be for the radio, I believe. So, yeah, is it not on?
You're talking into the wrong number.
I could make a comment, but I'm on the radio now.
All right.
So anyway, thank you for being here. We were trying to give Natalie another minute. She got stuck in some traffic coming from Glenwood. But we thought we can do an introduction and a thank you, and then I'd like to turn it over to Jen, who is our interpreter, just to share some thoughts that she had, that she wanted to give you. You're good.
Yes. I'm Jen Quevedo. I'm your interpreter. This is a multicultural environment, as you might have noticed. So you might hear languages other than English throughout this forum. So if you speak only English or only Spanish, please grab a headset here, right here where the white things, and some headphones right there in the back. Si alguien ocupa interpretación, van a estar escuchando el inglés, tanto el español. Si ocupa interpretación a cualquiera de los dos idiomas, por favor agarren los audífonos acá para que puedan escuchar la presentación.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks everybody for being here. I have only one job tonight, and that's to introduce our moderator, facilitator, Cristal Logan. Cristal's here from the Aspen Institute, and she just came out of moderating the Aspen School District's Board Forum, so she'll be a pro, and we're really grateful to have her. So I'll turn it over to Cristal from here.
Thank you. Thanks, Angie. So I think I have my own mic, so we can give this back to the panel there. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. We're here tonight to get to know the 5 candidates who are running for the Roaring Fork School District Board of Education. And I'm delighted to be the moderator for this really great event. I want to give special thanks to the Roaring Fork Community Education Association and the Roaring Fork School District for both hosting this forum tonight. We're fortunate to have Dr. Rob Stein at the helm of the district, as well as the entire leadership team of the district, all accomplished professionals doing great work for our students and for our communities. Our teachers and administrators in this district provide really important leadership in our valley-wide community, and we owe them a huge debt of gratitude for their great work. Thank you so much. Also, we're fortunate to have these highly capable, passionate community leaders stepping up to serve in this important role. You are strengthening the social fabric of our community with your willingness to serve in these roles. There will always be challenges, but it's how we as a community face these challenges together that will make a positive difference for our students. So on behalf of us all, we thank you for running for this important community position. Bravo. Thank you. Thank you. So we have about an hour, and we have a lot to cover, so I'll be kind of strict on timing, just so we can get through everything. Angie is going to give some timing cues here, so that you can fill your full 2 minutes, and when you see that you've got about 30 seconds, or when your time is up, you just, please just wrap up your thoughts so that we can move on. So there are 3 open seats, and we have 5 candidates. Come on in. 5 candidates are actively running and campaigning, and then there are 2 write-in candidates who are not with us tonight. So voters in the Roaring Fork School District, Glenwood, Carbondale, and Basalt will all vote for this position, and the election is on November 5th. You all should have gotten your ballots in the mail. You can actually, regardless of where you live in the district, you can vote for the 3 candidates. So when you get your ballots, be sure to vote for 3. And finally, just please silence your cell phones. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce the candidates who are running. For the District D seat, which is the North and West Glenwood areas, incumbent Shane Larson, Amy Connerton, and Jasmine are all running for that seat. The District C seat is open, which is South and East Glenwood, Spring Valley, and Western Missouri Heights. Welcome, Natalie. Thanks for coming. Running for that seat are Maureen, Stepp, and write-in candidate Molly Peterson. The District B seat, which is areas west of Highway 133 and 82 from Carbondale to Glenwood, including Iron Bridge, West Bank, and 4 Mile. Running for that seat is Natalie, Torres, and write-in candidate Matt Kova. So I'm going to introduce each one of the candidates in alphabetical order, and then after that I'll be asking the questions in random order. First we have Amy Connerton, Associate Professor at Colorado Mountain College, teaching in allied health. She also works shifts at Valley View Hospital in their Roaring Fork family practice. She's lived in the Roaring Fork Valley for 32 years and in Glenwood for 12 years, and she's raised her 2 daughters in the Glenwood schools. Shane Larson, VP of Student Affairs at CMC. He's lived in the Valley for almost 6 years. He has 2 daughters at Glenwood High School and a son at Glenwood Middle School. Jasmine Ramirez, she and her husband have lived here for 13 years and have 2 kids in the district, a 4th grader and a 22-month-old.
23 today.
23, right on, getting up there. And Natalie Torres, college registrar at CMC. She and her husband have lived in Glenwood for 12 years. They have 2 kids, a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old at Riverview. Welcome. And Maureen Stepp, college professor and administrator at CMC. She's lived in Glenwood for 9 years, and she has 1 middle school student in the district. So the format for this evening, each candidate will have 2 minutes for each question. And so we'll start with opening remarks. Jasmine, you're going to go first. You have the microphone? Okay. Here's the question. Opening remarks. Please tell us why you're running for the board, what qualifies you, and what strengths and qualities you'll bring to this role.
So this is the first time I'm campaigning to this level, and I just learned that name recognition is really, really important. So I'm going to say my name so many times that you're going to remember it. So my name is Jasmine Ramirez. I am, like she said, a mom of 2, and I have been really, really lucky with the opportunity to learn how to be an advocate for my child through learning how to better serve and better be a parent. And in doing so, there have been instances where I have needed support and resources, and I've asked questions to try to get those supports and services for my child. And very recently, I had an experience where I needed to get something for my child, and I realized how difficult it could be for a parent who did not have the same opportunities as me, which is being bilingual, and among other factors that really make your experience as a parent so much better. And so I really think that the opportunity that my baby actually gave me by being more involved in my child's school gave me the ability to see a different perspective that many of our district parents don't get to do because they work, and they work full time, and some work in Aspen, and so the commute is really difficult for them to come back to events. And so I'm just really excited to have the opportunity to help bridge that gap and try to find ways and resources to help those parents that want to be involved in their child's education but are unable to because of various factors.
Thank you. Maureen, you're next.
So good evening. My name is Maureen Stepp. I'm excited for this opportunity to serve on the RE1 Schools Board of Education and having this opportunity tonight to share a little bit about myself and my background. And thank you to those who organized this, the school district, and the Roaring Fork Community Education Association. I'm running for the RE1 school boards because I'm passionate about education and community. And I feel that this is an important way that I can fulfill both of those, giving back and serving on the school board. Primarily, I'm a parent. I have a son in the middle school. My family and I have lived in Glenwood Springs for the past 9.5 years. And just like all parents, I'm excited for my son's future and also concerned. And I want to ensure that he has access to the best possible education and to create that foundation for a successful future. And by serving on this board, I hope to be part of creating that, that foundation. Secondarily, I'm an educator. I've been teaching in higher education for the past 15 years. I love teaching and helping my students find their passion. And one of my greatest joys is watching them walk across the stage at graduation and starting that next adventure in their life. I'm also an administrator, so I manage people, I advise students, create curriculum, manage budgets. So I get to collaborate on many different levels. I have a doctorate in education, and I'm excited to work in this sector that has many challenges, yet has lots of opportunities for growth and change. Last year, I participated on Senator Rankin's Education Leadership Council, so I got to see how the education system works at the state level. So I'm excited to share that diverse view with this school board. Thank
Great,
you.
thank you. And Shane, you're next.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Shane Larson, and I am running for re-election for the school board because I have actually enjoyed the last several years on the school board. It can sometimes be a thankless job, and so I'd like to thank these other 4 people for being up here and being willing to do this. It's fun work, it's challenging work, but it's a way for me to give back, and I enjoy the process of being on the school board. I originally, a few years ago, decided to join, probably much like my 4 counterparts up here, because I felt I had something to contribute. I felt I could bring a perspective to the board that maybe enhance the conversations and enhance the work that we were doing. At the time I joined, I had 3 kids who were about to be in 3 different schools within Glenwood Springs, the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. So I was seeing the district from a lot of different angles with those 3 kids. My 3 kids were also very different from each other as well, too. So my oldest was in the gifted and talented program. My middle one's just this hard worker that goes out and gets it done. And then my youngest was on an IEP. So I saw the schools from a lot of different angles, day in and day out. Education has always been my passion. I came out of college as an educator. I taught 6th grade, but I didn't feel that was popular enough. So I moved up to the middle school to teach middle school math. Which for all the middle school teachers, that is something, trying to teach in a middle school. Those kids are a little on the wild side. But like a lot of educators, within those first couple of years, I found it hard to make ends meet, and I eventually moved into higher ed. I got my master's in higher ed administration, and I'm currently the vice president of student affairs at Colorado Mountain College, where many of the graduates from our local district end up. So again, I felt I had a little bit of a unique view of what was happening in our education system and in our communities, and thought I could contribute to the board.
Great, thank you. Amy, you're next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks again for inviting us. It's my pleasure to be considered for the school board. I'm running for school board for a few different reasons. I understand, as an educator, the importance of education and the value that quality education brings individuals, communities, and actually society as a whole. I also understand the importance of quality and equity in education. It can't be understated that we need to ensure that all, not just a couple different groups of our 5,000 students or over 5,000 students here, have opportunities, supports, high expectations, and resources to achieve educational success and actually feel valued. I'm a parent as well. I have 2 kids who are in the high school. Both are very different, but you know, I can't say one's on one end or the other. I don't even know I don't know where they both came from. I do believe that problems in our district are much the same as other Western rural communities. I think all of those problems should be prioritized by the board: teacher pay, school safety, etc. I have a passion for education, and I also have a doctorate in education, which allows me to explore 21st century ideas. Because, you know, when you're going through your doctorate program, it was pretty rigorous, and we explored a lot of the policies surrounding K-12 education. I've worked as an educator for over 15 years, and I'm a substitute teacher here at RE1, and I actually worked substitute at Yampa, which is maybe a little different than some of you have experienced. As a longtime community member, I would like to share my strong desire and passion for education. Again, thank you so much.
Great. And Natalie.
Hello, good evening. I apologize that I was running late. As any working parent knows, the juggles of my daughter really wanted to come, and we've been talking about this, so picking her up after work and making it here. So again, I apologize, but I'm glad to be here. Why I'm running for the school board is, you know, I've been really involved with the school throughout my kids, you know, pre-K to now, and I really wanted to get involved on more of a district level to see how some of these decisions that are made impact our individual schools. I get to see it from the school and as a parent, and really having the opportunity to be involved in that decision-making process and to take that voice that you know, the teachers have shared with me, that the parent volunteers have shared with me in our community. I'm also a soccer coach for the last 3 years, so I feel like I really have an opportunity to be involved both on the academic side as well as the activities side of my kids' experiences. So really, my desire is to really become more familiar and be a part of that process and bring my experience to the district level. I work also at CMC, so I have an opportunity to really to bring what we do, you know, as an institution, serves many different communities throughout the region, and so I see that somewhat relating to how the school district works, right? So you have various communities that all really serve one common goal and one common purpose, which is to get the best education as we possibly can for our kids. So I feel like that's something that I'm passionate about and I want to be involved in.
Great, thank you. So our next question, Maureen, you'll start. We're moving on to collaborative problem solving. And you'll have 2 minutes to respond to this question. Please describe a time when you've worked with a group to address a problem where you had to reach consensus, knowing that everyone's needs and requests couldn't all be met.
Okay, well, I prepared something a little differently, but one of the things that comes to mind with that question is when CMC was afforded the opportunity to offer bachelor's programs, 4-year baccalaureate programs. We were really trying to address a community need that didn't exist in our areas for people to go on to a 4-year bachelor's degree. Either had to do it online or move to Grand Junction or Denver or someplace else. So putting that into place, a lot of people came to the table to try to develop the best programs possible to meet those community needs. And there were a lot of differing viewpoints. Some people that had been in college for a long time were like, we're losing our mission of serving the community. A lot of people coming from other institutions were trying to make us, you know, another CU, which we would never be. So trying to find that middle road, we had faculty involved, we had administrators involved, we had community members involved. We did a lot of benchmarking against, you know, other programs and stuff, and ideally came up with the best possible solution. And you know, I think the school district has a lot of examples of that collaborative problem solving. I mean, the best one that I see is at Basalt Vista, with the school district, the town of Basalt, and Pickens County all working together to try to solve the housing crisis. So there's lots of examples out there, and it does take a village to try to come up with the best solutions. So that's an example of the college, and I think highlighting something that the school district is doing really well.
Great, thank you. Natalie, you're next.
All right, so I also work very closely with concurrent enrollment. And so I would say that that can sometimes be a challenge when we have so many various school districts. And each school district throughout our campus-wide district operates very differently. Some cover a certain number of credits, others cover credits that have to be approved by the principal or the counselor before they can register, all these different things. But we really came together with the concurrent enrollment coordinators at CMC and the high school counselors to come up with an approach that best fit their school district and their communities. It's not saying everybody has to do the exact same thing, but we wanted consistency to ensure that what we were doing was best serving those students. So they were taking the classes that they needed. They were also getting approved for high school credit and college credit, and it could be applied towards a degree program. So that was really a collaborative effort to make sure that what was being done was best fit for that school district, that community. Some folks still use a paper process. Some folks do it online. Others require approvals in various levels. But the ultimate goal is to work together to make sure that what happened was in the best interest of students. So I'm really proud of what we're doing so far with that.
Great, thank you. Shane, you're next.
All right, thank you. I too had prepared something just a little bit different, so kind of punting that and going down a different path. But to me, in thinking about the collaboration side of things, I'm going to kind of a board example here, and something that we'll have the opportunity to work on again this year, and that's the calendar. The calendar is an absolute no-win situation because there are so many different opinions on what the academic calendar should look like. It's a very difficult process as you try to weigh out all of those opinions, and for me, collaboration is all about listening, but listening to understand, weighing those different opinions, sorting through them, and then trying to come to some kind of consensus to solve the problem. The last time we had a calendar to approve, it actually got it voted down, I think 2 or 3 times, and we were on our deadline where we had to, as a group, talk through it, keep working. That night, we weren't going to finish that board meeting until we could get through that discussion. And it took a lot of listening as to why people were so passionate about their yes or their no. And we were in the board meeting with a room full of people who were all expressing their opinion about it as well too. So collaboration to me is, again, it's about that listening, trying to understand the problem and trying to understand everybody's kind of view and the angle that they're coming from so that you can try to get to the best possible decision.
You're next.
Collaborative problem solving. I think, collaboration is an interesting and it can be tricky business. I think one way, and I agree with Shane, in that, listening and learning, especially in understanding different perspectives. The way I see collaborative problem solving is I can use an example in the medical world because that is one of my areas of expertise. A lot of times patients can be very non-compliant in their own care and then their own process. And it's much the same, I could say, with students. They can be exhibiting behaviors in the classroom that are just disruptive. And it's the same thing when you're dealing with a patient who isn't really caring for themselves. And so what we've come up with in the medical world is this thing called motivational interviewing. And it's kind of where you help patients identify their own goals and set their own goals and be a part of the process, because when they're invested, all of a sudden it's just much like students. When you're invested, you want to meet and meet those goals that you've set for yourself. So a lot of times this means that we have to agree on the platform that we communicate in, and also understanding family beliefs, needs, and circumstances. So a lot of times in medical, there's a lot of different cultures that come in, and you have to have this general understanding, and I think we can apply that to students as well in the classroom. But collaborative problem solving, I would have to say, is definitely learning and listening, and not being afraid and having a good space to be able to defend your opposing views, yet do it with civility. So,
Jasmine.
Jasmine Ramirez. Gonna remember. So I've been really lucky to be part of our school's PTA for the last 5 years. And at our school, like at many schools in our district, something that is really difficult to, I should also mention I'm the only one that doesn't work for CMC. Something that across the district I've heard and I've met with parents mention is that it's really difficult to get all parents involved and engaged and to feel a part of their school community. And so I do think that in that same space at Sopersa Elementary, of that feeling of trying to create community and trying to bring partnership, and having the time, because you need time to be able to build those relationships. I was able to connect with a lot of our Spanish-speaking families last year, and we were able to work together and bring this amazing event at our school that raised over $3,000 for all our students. And it really gave me the sense of the needs of the school, how we could better partner with each other, the conversations that needed to be had, and just really the fact that we want to be in community. Our schools want to be in community, our parents want to be in community, and I think it's really important for us when we think about collaboration that we think about the relationship that needs in order for there to be collaboration. And I've benefited from being part of the PTA and Padres Líderes Latinos. And I also, with my early childhood background, feel like it's given me the opportunity to help my own children with their relationships, and because it is so crucial when they're young. And thank you, Jasmine Ramirez.
Great, thank you. So moving on to discuss the district strategic plan. At the end of the last school year, the board approved a new 5-year strategic plan, which includes 10 specific strategies to accomplish a variety of outcomes. This next set of questions asks the candidates to share their viewpoints on various strategic plan elements. You'll each have 2 minutes to answer, and I'm going to let you draw the order that you'll go in, and I'll explain the questions. So here we go. Here. There you go. There you go. Okay, so who has number 1?
That is me.
That is you. Shane, it's your lucky day. Okay, academic rigor. The question is up on the screen. What specific changes would you like to see made in school district programs, curricula, or policies to equitably increase student achievement and success?
Good question. Good question. Okay. There's a glare up there, so it's really hard to see, too. What changes would I like to see made? I guess first off, I would say that I think we are on a really good path in some areas. One of the things I'm excited that the district has started to do is the content area, or the curriculum groups that are meeting together. One of the things when I came to the board that was a concern of mine, being a former math teacher, was that all the schools, it seemed like, had these different math programs going on. But in Glenwood Springs, the multiple schools do have to funnel up to one high school, right? So each step of the way as these students are transitioning, they're coming together as a group. but they're coming in with different skill sets. And so to me, the curriculum groups that are starting to meet to align curriculum from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, I think really start spelling out a path, right? A path that the students should all be on to try to achieve the benchmarks that we need. A path that every kid is, doesn't matter what school they're going to, they're getting the same content, they're getting the same rigor, and we're pushing towards those same outcomes. To me, when we have that path and it's easy to identify that path, it's easier to identify where we potentially have some holes, where we have some gaps, where we have students who are potentially falling behind at a certain grade level. So maybe there's something in that grade or there's something in that content that's not feeding into the next area. And to me, that provides a very level playing field for all students. And it also provides, I think, a better opportunity to use the data to also be tracking how students are moving through a program and are they getting to the benchmarks we want. And if we start with where we want them to be, right, this is our end goal, you can kind of backwards engineer that all the way down through all the grade levels.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Who is number 2? Amy. Okay, great. You get culture of character. The question is, what more should schools do to help build a culture of character where all students feel a strong sense of safety and belonging?
Well, culture of character. I mean, it is when we have over 5,000 students and from diverse backgrounds. I think that it's important to understand who they are and where they come from. And I also think that, you know, it's going to be really important to engage families and not only just involve families, but engage them. And what that means is like have more of a sustainable model. I don't really see it right now currently as being very sustainable. You know, my daughter, I also see a lot of divisions about instructional methodologies. And I just kind of feel like in order for us to really build character within these different cultures, it's going to be really important for us to focus in that area. So my answer is short and sweet.
Okay.
I have 30 seconds left.
Great. Who's number 3? Jasmine. Okay. The question is related to post-secondary readiness. What more should our schools do to ensure that students graduate with the knowledge and skills to be college and career ready?
Well, I do think that all of these plans, the academic rigor, the culture of character, family engagement, investment in staff, all of those lead up to post-secondary readiness. And that can be a multiple level tier in all of those areas. Because really what we want is our children to be social, emotional, prepared, ready to feel passionate, to feel motivated, to feel ready, and to feel like they can achieve. And so I do think that our schools and our district can focus on relationships, on how we can build relations with our families and with our children to see how we can better support each student. And I do think that part of that is focusing on the, oh gosh, I don't know if I can just remember what it was called. Reclassifying the English language learners at an early age, because it does give all of the scores as they lead up into their education the ability to perform and outperform. And so I do think that we need to focus on areas like that, like the gifted and talented program, the special needs programs, where they need those resources to be able to leave our elementary schools prepared for middle school, prepared for high school. And then we need to connect with the state colleges, with CMC. We need to create programs. We need to create vocational schools in our area where we can connect, and vocational programs so that, you know, if our students decide they don't want to go to college or that they need to stay here in the Valley, that is in place for them to have those connections and those opportunities so that they can feel that they have somewhere to go and they have goals to get to. I think it's really important for us to feel like a community.
Great, thank you. Who's next? Maureen. Your question is around family engagement. What specific actions will you take to promote parental engagement in schools?
So that's a tough one, and that's something that we struggle with all the time. And one of the things the board is talking about tonight is possibly making the volunteer process a little bit more streamlined and maybe easier for parents to get involved. I would also look at the programs that are out there already that are working really well. Valley Settlement Project has a great parent mentor program. The Mountain Voices Project is a great avenue for listening and finding out where action can actually take place. I think this district has already started doing some home visits, checking out what's going on in the student lives and try to understand where people are coming from. I think one thing that's really where we struggle are busy parents, right? So after work, picking up kids, driving them here, driving them there. And so how do we engage with them? And so maybe there's some more social media aspects, some online engagement practices that we can do. The other thing is sibling engagement. So maybe the older siblings can help or mentor younger siblings. And then also possibly engaging with alumni a little bit more to come back and mentor students. So it's a whole family kind of looking at all aspects, all sides of it, to try, like I said, there's a lot of things that are working out there. Let's look at those and duplicate them, and just keep trying everything that we can, because it's so important.
Great, thank you. Natalie, your question is about investment in staff. What strategies do you believe will retain and attract highly effective teachers and staff?
Well, that's a million-dollar question, right, in this valley. Well, I think that we benefit with the fact that we live in a place that's pretty desirable for a lot of people to come and live in, right? So we're able to attract, I think, really qualified teachers. We're also working on ways to educate from within our communities so that we're training our teachers that live here already. But also, once they get here, how do we keep them, right? So between affordable housing, or there's also professional development strategies to really help just really grow those teachers or those community members who have been born and raised and then continue their education to stay here and become teachers. How do we help them continue to grow in their profession as educators? So between partnerships, whether that be with CMC with professional development, or conferences, or let's just say thinking about giving teachers the opportunity when they are doing professional development, how can we then help support that classroom? Maybe that could be, Maureen mentioned the other night about 8th graders who came up to Spring Valley to tour the college campus, while giving that teacher the opportunity to engage in professional development opportunities. So those kids are still being exposed to learning opportunities while the teacher is able to further their own growth. Also, mentor programs that help with those either retired teachers or seasoned teachers, to help with those new teachers right out of college, to help them create strategies, right, to be effective in their classrooms, and to hopefully not feel so burnt out that they're halfway through the semester or the school year. It's like, oh my gosh, we're only halfway through the school year, right? In addition to getting more parent volunteers, as much as the parent engagement, to help those teachers manage those classrooms.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question, and Amy is first on this one. It's related to parent and staff outreach. How should the board find out what parents and staff in our district are thinking, and how should the board put that knowledge to use?
Well, I think that the district has been doing a lot of outreach thus far, using surveys And I'm all about evidence-based practices because it's really important, I think, to take whatever evidence we gather and then apply some of our findings. So parents, that's a little tougher because when you send out the surveys to parents, a lot of times parents either don't receive it, or even if they get like some sort of slip that gets lost in the backpack. I think that, it's going to be really important for us to do purposeful outreach for parents and give a lot more flexible options in order for us to, because a lot of us are working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We don't have the time to actually make it back to the school. And, there are other ideas. There is social media. Maybe there's small groups. Maybe there's one teacher who can actually reach out to the students in their crews. Maybe there's a parent leader. Maybe we could tap into some of the PTAs and things like that in order for us to really engage all of us as a whole and make it more holistic. And then staff, well, you guys tell me. You're the staff. I think it's important to get feedback from staff and really listen to that feedback. I think you guys do the survey. I went and observed your teacher survey, and you had a 78% response rate, which was pretty robust. And everybody seems to be fairly happy with what's going on at the district, which is a good thing. And I think that can go right along with retaining teachers and things. But one thing I did notice in those responses is what are you using to make it 100%? So like first year teachers, a lot of them were saying that they felt like they didn't have a mentor. So, oh, thank you. Sorry, I wasn't watching.
It's okay.
Okay.
Maureen, you're next for the same question.
Oh, same question.
Same question.
Okay. So I think the most important thing is, listening, and how do we do that? So there are surveys, and like I said, the teacher response rate was pretty high. That's good. That means they're engaged. Parent surveys, the visioning process that the district undertook last 5 years, and then again last year, going around to the schools and doing it at different times and at different schools so that you can get the most feedback possible. It seems like the district is on a good path, and with the strategic plan that was put in place 5 years ago, there's some tweaks that need to happen. But I think every year the board needs to go out and do that listening tour. Again, whether that's social media or through surveys or focus groups, visiting the schools. But I think the board's main role is to listen and then act on what we hear. And as much as possible, try to implement that into the vision and the plans that the board comes up with. I think that's all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
Jasmine's next with the same question.
So, Jasmine Ramirez. Okay, so in becoming a candidate, to me, this position is really important. This is a position that not only represents the district in which I live, but it represents the district, which is really something that, I think should be valued. And in becoming a candidate, I set out to meet with teachers, to hear feedback, to meet with families, to meet with parents, to kind of know what is happening in the Valley. What are we hearing back? What is the experience? What is the needs between every individual school, because they are so diverse, and every community has its own needs, its own demographics. And so I do think in having that conversation with teachers, it is great to have surveys, but the surveys are not always to the point of really what's happening in the experience of our teachers. And so I do think that we need to use services like the interest-based bargaining, and we need to have forums, and we need to go out into their schools, and we need to try to build a relationship with our teachers where they feel that they can come and have those conversations with us, that they know who we are, that they know that we care, that they know that they're valued. And you know, I'm a Sopris parent. I remember a couple years ago when we had that issue where 24 of our teachers were let go. And so I do think that part of our responsibility as a board is to make sure that our teachers feel valued, that they feel that we care about them, their family, their well-being, their how they feel supported. And we need to, it is a continual thing. It can't just be like we gave a survey for, you know, once a year. Like it has to be something that we commit to and we show them that we care.
Great, thank you. Shane, you're next. Same question.
Same question. Okay,
Yes.
we're going down the line with it.
Yep.
So, you know, how do we find out what the parents and staff are thinking? You know, first off, well, the survey is great. I think the where you get the real honest conversations a lot of times is just being out there, introducing yourself as a board member and listening. You know, this happens organically through going to your kids' events, dropping them off at school, attending the school events, trying to get to PTA things, and just making sure that people know that you're the board member who's there to represent them. I feel as a board member, we work for the community, and our teachers are part of that community. So we work for our teachers as well. They are part of the district, but we're here to represent their needs as well to the executive team. It is always a challenge outside of your circle, though. So how do you expand that circle? That gets harder, right? I live in Glenwood. My kids go to Glenwood schools. I don't have the connections in Basalt and Carbondale. And so that's something, you know, you have to be more intentional about that work as to how can I get into those schools? How can I meet some of those other parents? But really the information, how you use it is this is the feedback from the community. As a board member, I don't feel I'm there to represent my opinion. I'm there to give my opinion, but I'm there to represent the people who reach out to me and say, this is a concern, or I feel this is a problem. Not everything can be solved via reaching out to a board member, but it's my duty and my obligation then to relay that information when appropriate to the executive team to try to make sure people who are reaching out to me understand their path to reach out as well too. It's not the popular answer, but sometimes you got to say, have you talked to the teacher? Have you talked to the principal yet? You know, hey, let's start there. I'd be happy to get that conversation going and make that introduction. But we're there to serve the community, and so we have to be out there, we have to make those connections, and then we have to use that to fulfill what the community is looking for from their school district.
Great, thank you. And Natalie, you're next. Same question.
All right. So very similarly that has been expressed earlier is hearing really what the community has to say. And I really believe, like even looking out in the audience, I see a lot of familiar faces. We live in a place where we either know each other through activities or through our kids' school events or whatever it may be, and really just promoting an atmosphere of responsiveness, that if somebody has a question or a concern, that they feel as though they've been heard. And I think that it goes a long way in hearing what is going on, and not just hearing about the stuff that is a problem or that are concerns, but also hearing about the stuff that's going really well. I love and encourage a lot of times, like we had a great event at Riverview last night for Dia de los Muertos, and you know, those are celebrations that I think we should share and express what's going really well at each school that help another school that may feel that they're challenged in an area of you know, collaboratively working across that cultural divide, and what can we learn from each other. I think that there's a lot of really great stuff happening, and what we could do with the voice of the community, whether that be on the soccer field when our kids are playing against each other, or softball or volleyball, or at the grocery store, because we're going to run into each other at the grocery store. Just really feeling as though we hear what's going on from the teachers, from the parents, from the administrators, and then get back to them and say, hey, I heard what you had to say. Here's what we're doing and what we're working on. So.
Great, thank you. A little public service announcement. Someone's car, Subaru, silver or tan Subaru with ADF 079 lights are on in the parking lot. Anybody? Maybe a Subaru, we think. Okay. So we're going to move on to our last question before concluding statements. And let's have Amy go first on this one because I have these random order lists. Let's see. No, this is a new question. New question, and we don't have a slide for this question. So this is the wild card question. What are the top 2 priorities of a board member, in your opinion?
Oh, okay, so that's better. The top 2 priorities. The board should not be micromanaging what's going on in the schools and at the school levels. Our job is to serve our community first, and second is to hold the superintendent accountable, because what the superintendent does is he's going to articulate what needs to be done in all the schools, and also trust that he's getting it done, because we're all professionals here and we need to rely on those things. I can see, yes, I do believe it's really important for us to listen to our constituents and what the community needs and wants. But I think it's a slippery slope if we start to get too involved in this micromanaging. It's not a personal endeavor. I'm here to simply serve the community and what they need, what they want, and also student success. We need to ensure that students are successful in our district. And that really is probably number 1. So.
Great, thank you. Next is Natalie. Same question. What are the top 2 priorities of a board member?
Well, I would definitely agree on the staying away from the micromanagement viewpoint of what a board really is set to provide. It's really there to help with that accountability. So I think the one of the top priorities is that are we doing everything that we could really do throughout our communities and as a school district to ensure that the level of education and the standards in which we're presenting this education are as the best that they can be, right? And if they're not, what can we do to support our superintendent to get that message out to those schools, right? And that's, as a parent and as an educator, I think is the most important, is obviously making sure if it's not happening, what can we do to ensure that that does take place? Secondly, I think the board really is charged with the task of ensuring that we're, as far as the calendar and the funding for all of those things, are looking at all of the components, and that's the voices of the parents, the voices of the teachers, the voices of our superintendent, to see that all of those things are being considered when making those decisions, and it's a collaborative effort that's looking at all of those factors in making those choices.
Great, thank you. Maureen, you're next.
Okay. I think one of the top things that a board is responsible for is helping to create the vision and where the district is moving and creating that plan to realize that vision. So whether that's accountability or budget, understanding any policies coming down from the state level that will affect our district. We already talked about listening to our constituents as part of that as well. The second thing that I think is a priority for a board is to remove barriers that exist as much as possible, and to provide as many supports to the administration, the teachers, the staff, to promote that student success, because in the end, that's what we're all here for. So again, just providing that vision and the plan to reach that vision, removing the barriers, and providing the supports to put that plan into place.
Thank you. Shane, you're next.
So we've hit on a few of them. I think obviously the board's duty, first and foremost, is to govern, not manage. You govern by watching your policies, by working with the superintendent and looking at the strategic plan, which includes things like student safety and outcomes and all of those pieces. To take it in a little bit of a different direction, I would say right now, as a board member, I think there's a real unique opportunity in this state to advocate for education in general. Whether you're for or against Polis, he is very much, his platform is all about education, and he's a big advocate for education. We know the funding in this state is broken for education, and it's time to start getting out there, working with teachers, working with other school boards actually from the rural areas around the state to say this just is not working with how it's set up right now. And I think we would have an opportunity within hopefully the next couple of years to really move the needle and get Colorado to reevaluate how we're funding education. You know, we're a highly educated state, but we all know it's not from our locals, right? People move to Colorado with degrees, and that's why we on the surface appear to be a very highly educated state. But when you look at the students in Colorado, they're not going on and getting those degrees and certificates at a rate that they should be in a state that's this prosperous right now. We're very fortunate to live in a state that's just booming economically, but we're not getting to reap any of those benefits right now. And so something has to change to be able to move that needle.
Great, Jasmine.
Jasmine Ramirez. So the top two priorities of board members. So board members it's an elected position, and it's why I've taken it so serious, because I do feel that when you've been elected by your community, they are giving you their trust that you will be representative of what their needs are and what their concerns are and their comments and ideas and all of that. And so I do think that representation is and should be the priority as an elected board member, because you have to have those relationships with your district parents and families to be able to serve them better. The second priority, I think, is accountability, not just for the superintendent, but the administrators within the schools. I think it's really important to have relationships with everyone involved within the district, including community, so that you can better understand the needs of each school, the needs of staff, the needs of teachers and students. And so I do think that part of that responsibility falls on us as a elected board to have those collaborative problem-solving moments. And I agree with Shane. I have made my due diligence. I've contacted board member Rankin, and I've gone to the Colorado Education Initiative this past weekend because I want to know what is being done at the state level. And I think it's important for us, it's great for us to have these conversations about what can be done, but it's time for us to act on it. And it's time for us to go out and want to give our teachers opportunities, create relationships that they can grow from, bring resources to our students, to our families, to our teachers, so that we can grow and prosper and be in relationship with each other.
Thank you. So Shane is first on this final question. These are your concluding statements. Each of you have 2 minutes to tell us how you will help the board become more effective and add any parting thoughts about why you're the best candidate for the board.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Cristal, for moderating this evening. Thanks to the staff for also putting this on, and of course to the RFCEA for hosting this event as well. I feel what I bring to the board is, one, the knowledge. That is why I'm seeking the second term. I feel the board is in a good place right now. I believe the district is in a good place. About a year ago, we did the 16 community listening sessions that had over 400 people attend, and our goal was to go out and find out what needs to change in the strategic plan. Where are we missing right now? And overwhelmingly, the message was, stay the course. You have a few things you need to update. There's a few tweaks to the strategic plan, but overall, we did not go out and redo the strategic plan. We simply did some updates to it to keep us on the path that we are on. I believe I have the temperament to be on the board. It's about listening. It's about collaboration. It's about respectfully disagreeing is, I believe, the term Amy used, but then moving on from there to make good things happen. Apparently, with all these other CMC people up here, I guess all my bragging about the great pay and awesome hours must have really encouraged some others to want to run for the board. But you know, it's about doing the good work. It's about having good schools where the families and the kids feel welcome, they feel safe. It's about our outcomes and doing the best possible job for the young people of this community.
Great, thank you.
My name's Shane Larson. Thank you very much.
Natalie. Natalie's next.
Well, and I do say, in working with Shane, there were many times I was like, what's going on with the board? Like, how, this is really great. And so when I saw some positions getting open, first I want to make sure, I was like, oh, am I running against Shane? Or, but it really does, it does really present it in a way and giving back to the community and really serving in a way in which that I'm really passionate about. And that's where I feel as though I can contribute to be an effective board member, is one, listening, collaboratively working together to find innovative solutions. This is, I feel like what I do at my job quite often, listening to what some ideas can be that maybe outside the box that we should really consider, and really trying to find the best solutions that are out there. And the other thing is I really feel passionately about education, and whether that's, a couple of years ago I finished my graduate degree while working full-time and a parent to young kids, and my kids kept saying, why are you doing this? Can't you just play with us, and why do you have to do homework on top of working all day? And we really discussed why education is just such an important part of our lives, and whether that's a lifelong learner or if you're doing it as a profession, really instilling those values is something that I hold really deep to my heart, and that's why I want to be involved in making their experience the best that it could be, as well as that for our community.
Thank you. Amy, you're next.
Thanks again for hosting this wonderful event. It's great. Yeah, I do believe I can be effective on the board. I also have a passion for education, and student success is extremely important to me, especially as an educator. Like Maureen had mentioned, there really is nothing better than seeing students graduate and successfully. And, developmental education is a problem to be solved, especially here. I do believe that the strategic plan of the board, you're making progress, but I do believe the steps could be instead strides. And I feel as though I can bring some of the new innovative ideas that I've learned along the way and throughout my 20 years in education. I know I've been in the district for 12 years with my kids going through 3 different superintendents, leadership and curriculum changes, teacher turnover. I kind of feel like it's time for a change, and I think we're all really lucky to have so much interest in the school board at this time, with so many people who are really passionate about education. And it's also going to be really important. I'm not afraid to ask tough questions, but at the same time, collaborative, I serve on several committees at CMC, and also as a PTA member at the school district, I feel like I am really in the heart of understanding what's going on in education here. So vote for Amy Connerton.
Jasmine, you're next.
So I do want to say that, I'm committed to being a true representative and welcome any conversation with past, current, or future parents, students, and teachers. And, I do, part of my platform is to help bring more transparency and a better relationship. I think it's really important for us to focus on that so that we can better serve our students. And I have to take advantage of this. I have to take advantage of this platform. And so I do want to say something in Spanish. Quiero decirle a los papás simplemente gracias. Gracias por escoger este valle nuestro distrito y nuestras escuelas para ser su hogar. Gracias por compartir su más precioso regalo, sus hijos, con nosotros. Espero que nosotros como comunidad sientamos la urgencia en dar representación a todas las experiencias en nuestro distrito. Como hija de inmigrantes, valoro el sacrificio en el sueño de darles a nuestros hijos un mañana mejor. Y espero que sigamos la lucha para darles una comunidad mejor. Me gustaría que nos demos la oportunidad de valorar todos los esfuerzos de nuestra gente latina que existen en nuestra comunidad. Es maravilloso ser parte de esa lucha y los invito a unirse. Esa lucha es larga, dura, difícil, pero somos una comunidad grande, fuerte y luchadora. Creo en nosotros. Espero que lo podamos lograr juntos. So basically, I just wanted to say to the parents that I'm so grateful that you guys chose this district, that you guys chose this valley to make your home, that you give us the opportunity to serve your children. And I hope that as a community, we feel the urgency to give representation to all the students within our district. As a daughter of immigrants, I value the sacrifice of giving our children a better tomorrow. And I hope that as a community, we can give all our children in this district representation.
Gracias. Maureen.
So again, thank you for providing this opportunity for me to share a little bit about myself and my background. I am super excited about working with the fellow board members, the district administration, the parents and community, the teachers, to help prepare a plan that will carry out the strategic plan of the visioning process from last year. There's lots of challenges. There's always going to be lots of challenges in a district this large. And as a board member, I look forward to working collaboratively to try to find solutions to those challenges. And as Natalie said earlier, there's lots of really cool things going on, so we need to celebrate those successes. As part of the Education Leadership Council last year, hundreds of people from across the state came together to create a vision for the state of education. And I got to see what was all the cool things that are happening across the state. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have to focus on those things that are going to have the most impact. I believe the board needs to be transparent. We need to communicate more. We need to collaborate. We need to focus on the things that are going well. So thank you so much.
Great. Thanks to you all for your great answers. We're really fortunate to have all of you running for this great, important position. Thanks to our hosts. Thanks to the community for coming, and thanks for the leadership for hosting this as well. Good luck, and thanks for your involvement. And this is an amazing community, so thanks to you all. Have a good night. Wow, they're all really good.